Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I have come to Los Angeles at the invitation of a number of concerned individuals and major organizations that have been, like myself, deeply involved in the struggle for civil rights and human dignity. Violence is all the more regrettable in this period in light of the tremendous nonviolent sacrifices that both Negro and white people together have endured to bring justice to all men. But it is equally clear, as President Johnson pointed out yesterday, that it is the job of all Americans to right the wrongs from which such violence and disorder spring. The criminal responses which led to the tragic outbreaks of violence in Los Angeles are environmental and not racial. The economic deprivation, social isolation, inadequate housing, and general despair of thousands of Negroes teeming in northern and western ghettos are the ready seeds which give birth to tragic expressions of violence by and omit hopelessness. Thirdly, I would like to confer with the many segments of the white community that have been the staunch allies of the Negro people in our struggle. Surely, if immediate recurrence of violence. Fifthly, if the local leadership feels that it will be helpful, I am prepared to sit with them in discussions with public officials on the role and responsibility of government and to evaluate with them a program that will eliminate such future occurrences in Los Angeles or in any other city of our nation. And I'd like to say two things finally, and that is that I have come to listen and to talk with the broad spectrum of leadership and people in all areas of the city, particularly in the Watts area. And I need to do that before making any value judgments. I'd also like to say that I think it is very unfortunate that statements have been made by public officials to give the impression that the riot developed because local leaders did not do their job. I think we have to see that these riots grew out of many things, particularly the explosion of accumulated frustration that have been developing across the years as a result of the long night of poverty and economic insecurity. I think Los Angeles is fortunate to have very able leadership in the Negro community, and no Negro leader at the moment when these explosions had become so great could have appealed to reason, because a riot does not listen, a mob does not listen to reason. So I think that the statements that gave the impression on the one hand that the leadership was lacking, and on the other hand that civil rights demonstrations in the past that we've had all over the South and the nation are responsible for this, are very unfortunate statements, and certainly public officials should weigh their words when they are thinking of trying to avert future occurrences like this and to deal with the whole problem of creating the beloved community. Well, I don't again know the details of this, and I don't know how tense the areas happen to be at this time. I am convinced that the situation had gotten so far out of hand that it was necessary to use intelligent police force in a non-brutal sense to restore order, and whether the situation has subsided enough to merit removing the National Guard at this point, I don't know. I would have to study the situation a little more.
Do you think there was any organized character to these riots, and if so, would you identify it?
No, it's my feeling, as I said earlier, that this was a sort of blind and misguided revolt against the society and authority on the part of people who, for many reasons, feel alienated from their nation, from their families in many instances, and from themselves, and out of self-hatred, self-rejection, frustration, seething desperation, because of their plight, they unconsciously and consciously turned to these methods. I don't think there was any individual or group that organized the riot.
Did you feel any bright side, any redeeming feature to what has happened here?
I'm sorry, I missed
Did you see any bright side, any redeeming feature to what has happened here?
Well, as I said, I think we all have to deplore what has happened, and we have to see this as an evil situation, but often forces of history and forces of goodwill can wring good out of it.
Dr. King, in interviewing members of the Negro community this morning, some of them made statements to me saying they didn't feel that your trip here would have much effect on the Negro citizen himself because you did not live in the area day to day and therefore were not aware of their immediate problems. I wonder if you thought about this, Jenny, and thought you might find yourself in this position with the Los Angeles Negro community, and would you comment on it?
Well, my only comment is that I work all over this nation, and I've done very little work in the community where I live, namely Atlanta, Georgia. Every other community that I've worked in, I must say I don't live there, and I don't think it is true that one cannot aid and bolster the leadership of a particular community because he doesn't live there. Wherever violence occurs as a nonviolent leader, I feel the moral responsibility to go in and do whatever I can and lend whatever advice I can, and this is why I'm in Los Angeles. I am also here, as I said earlier, to listen, so that I think they're eminently correct if they say I don't know all of the details, and I certainly have no pretense to omniscience. I don't know everything, and I don't know all of the answers. We're all in steps for truth and for a better society and for a greater America where we can all live together as brothers.
Gentlemen,